Hello and welcome to Art, Creativity, and Well-Being. This is the show where we are always working to support you in pouring from your own full cup as you live your life and support others and yourself. I am Kay Lockcope. I am a coach and a creator and a thru hiker who used to need a wheelchair. Speaking of pouring from a full cup and caring for yourself in order to care for others. That is learned behavior for me. And if you're on the journey of learning that for yourself as well, well, I get it. Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here listening with me. Today does feel like a listening episode. I've been so curious what it would be like to bring you these episodes as they unfold through the year. This is the second in a once monthly series throughout 2026 where we are looking at what did I envision this month to be like back in January when I did something. I played this game called Days of Creation 2026. It was about proactively building your coming year. Um, and I in some ways, I mean, we're only at the second month, and I'm absolutely blown away with what this has meant, uh, what it's been like to look back on something that I basically wrote on the 2nd of January in this case, because the 2nd of January's proactive creation was done on that day. So the February's proactive creation was done on that day, January the 2nd. And events have unfolded, things have been wild. When I think back, I haven't listened back to the January version of this, which I recorded in early February, but I remember the feeling of recording that episode, the first of these Days of Creation episode. And I was in the midst of just uh, what felt like extra political mayhem, chaos in our world, in my country, the United States. And I didn't realize when I wrote proactively created January on the 1st of January that circumstances would become so real so quickly. And it's really interesting to come back in today and see, first of all, how I feel today versus how I feel when I recorded in January. And the reason that I feel well, with a deeper understanding of how I can support, how I can feel okay inside. I've been thinking a lot about the parasympathetic nervous system and cultivating feelings of safety in the body, in our body. And, so that as things unfolded between the last time I recorded and now, so just about a month, I'm recording this in early March 2026. It's been so interesting because I can see just over the weekend an event happened, or even in my personal life, some events have happened that I think without this new learning, I would have, I used to do this uh, without even being aware of it. I think of it as climbing down into the well with someone who is suffering instead of, if I find that someone is suffering because they have fallen down a well, to stay at the top of the well and figure out ways to help get them out rather than join them in the well, which is which was my kind of my default. And I I noticed that these months have been an invitation to deepen that awareness so that I've had opportunities, and I'm using that word very choicefully, very carefully, to see, oh, I'm about to step into the well. I'm about to fall down this well with this person who's fallen down a well. And what can I do instead? Is there a choice that I can make instead? Very often, the first choice has been the first thing I remember I can do is something that I learned called a panic button breath. I absolutely love this. I love that it's called the panic button. So, and it's just for reference, it is from a wonderful podcast called First This with Catherine Nicolai. It's a mindfulness meditation podcast that is a maximum of 10 minutes each week. And it's so, so lovely. And the panic button breath is where you breathe deeply. You take two quick inhales and then one long exhale. So you breathe way down into the bottom of your lungs, you breathe up into your collarbones, and you go, and you make that exhale last as long as you can. You breathe out for typically, in my case anyway, a much longer time than my quick two in breaths. And I've learned that this having, well, a couple things. First of all, breathing deeply into the bottom of our lungs, like sort of breathing into your belly, is one indicator to your parasympathetic nervous system that you are safe. And then the other one is having a longer exhale than inhale. And like understanding the mechanics of why it feels so good, why it's centering, has been very helpful for me. So that's it's really it's so funny because I definitely wanted to share that with you, like how we got here, but it really doesn't pertain to today's episode at all, does it? We we're talking today about, and I'll hold it up. This is so the Days of Creation 2026 is this little booklet that um, it's like a game book that I put together. You can still play this. You can play it for the rest of the year. I will put the post where I created this. It's a free little resource that I wanted to share with you if you'd like to play along. And I've been finding it so interesting to do it. And so let's jump into February. So each day of creation back in January, I had the opportunity, anyone who's playing has the opportunity to answer a couple of questions. Did you have any dreams? And in fact, on the 2nd of January, what I wrote was dreams, and I stuck a little caret, one of those like little interruption of sentences in when you're making notes. And I wrote, or interesting dream states, because I didn't have any dreams that I remembered, but I do remember waking up that morning in a sort of dream state, like it was half awake, half asleep, back in early January. So interesting. So, did you have any dreams that you wish to record? Anything that felt good that you wish to record in terms of your overnight dreaming? If you could spend some time outside on that day, what was that time like? And then, as you go through the day, this is what I wrote. Bring attention to the feelings and impressions that are particularly comforting, cozy, heartening, and delightful. And this page is full of notes. And then what I did was when I was looking at the page for today, which I only returned to yesterday, that's called This Was February 2026. What's true that I wrote on the 2nd of January is the first question. How did February unfold in the end? And how did what you observed on the 2nd of January inform and create this month for you? And it's so interesting looking back at it and feeling back. The notes that I took this morning were about really what happened when I look at what I wrote down on the 2nd of January. There were things like I made Northwoods bean soup. I discovered that we had the ingredients we needed here. It was a very simple. I made a big pot of it. There's still some in the freezer so that I can go get it when I want to. I wrote, I did not have to go out and find a plumber. A plumber came to me. And that's just a funny little story. So over Christmas, I have the incredible good fortune to live in a home with the bar none, hands down, most amazing clawfoot bathtub I've ever taken a bath in. And it's my bathtub now. Like, wow. And it developed a leak in late December. And I was like, oh boy, like that's a bummer. And it was December. And, I did reach out to a friend of ours up here who's a builder to see if he happened to know of a plumber. And that did not materialize. When you live in a rural place like this, it's just, especially over Christmas, it's hard to find people who are able to come and do things like repairs. And at the same time, Ben and I, my husband and I, decided that we wanted to have some work done on the gas line into the house. Not particularly the gas line into the house, but we wanted to make sure that the gas line was okay. I feel like there was something to do with, oh, I know what it was. We were going to have the gas tanks filled because propane is one of the fuels that we have out here in the wilderness. And in order for them to fill the tanks, what they needed first was to come out and inspect them, make sure that everything was okay. And they found some things in the house that, like connections, that nothing that was dangerous, but that should be cleaned up, could be easier so that things, down the line, when we want to pull the gas cooking stove out from the wall to clean behind it, we didn't have to worry about severing pipes or something like that. And all very, to me, it felt like what we were doing was and we continue to do this, is we wish to be good stewards of this incredible home that we have had the great good fortune to find and purchase and move into. And, some things needed updating. So it felt very normal for us to be sort of doing that. Anyway, it turns out that the company that does that also does work on things like oil systems, oil heat systems, and water systems. So like they're plumbers, in other words. And so we had somebody come out to look at the gas situation, and it turned out that this was someone who could fix the tub, and it was funny too. The person who was taking us around to do like the person who, how can I say this? The person who came out to do the inspection, to see what work needed to be done, put us in touch with someone else in the company who comes out to do things like estimates for work that you're thinking about doing. And that person, we were taking him all around the house to talk about, like, let's really understand, what do we really want to do here. And I won't take you into the details of all that, but we did go all over the house because, just one example, there's no heat on the second floor or up in the attic. And it's been fine. It's actually been great. I was just saying last night, Ben and I are really proud of ourselves because we did not know what it would be like to live in a house that didn't have heat, in the top two floors of the house. And it's been fine. It's been absolutely fine. And, you know, um, kind of fun in some ways. It feels like a very simple life. Anyway, so but we did want to see, like, what might we do about that? Is there a way that feels like we could get heat upstairs? And while we were up here, I had been lamenting the fact that the bathtub was leaking, and this gentleman basically looked at it and said, "Oh, it's possible that this pipe needs to be tightened up a little bit," and he hand tightened it, and it's been fine ever since. It's like, so uh that happened as a result of the gas people coming. So the way that I wrote it on that happened on the 2nd of January, that the person came out to do the gas inspection. And then I think within 3 or 4 days, the bathtub was then fixed. And I'm so excited because tomorrow, This will be part of the March update, perhaps. The real work starts on some of the systems in the house that needed some updating, and I just feel so excited, you know. In fact, I have an arrow drawn from I did not have to go out and find a good plumber. One came to me. Um, and then I drew an arrow over to where it says, like, as I was reflecting yesterday and today, um, how did what I observed on the 2nd of January inform and create this month for me? And I wrote one word, and it's abracadabra. Um, And there's another arrow before I get to the significance of that word for me. I'll share this other part of what I wrote back on the 2nd of January. So I also wrote a very strong impression that's coming up today is that I am now living in the world and circumstances that I envisioned exactly a year ago, which is comforting, cozy, heartening, and delightful. And I also drew an arrow from that to the word abracadabra today, yesterday or today. I think I've recorded some notes yesterday, some today. And over Christmas, I read a book called Dash and Lily's Book of Dares. And there's a part where, you know what, this might have been there's a Netflix series, and I watched that before I read the book. So now I'm not remembering exactly. I think this came from the Netflix version. I'm not sure if it's in the book, but anyway, the characters talk about the word abracadabra and how it comes from an Arabic phrase that means I create as I speak. And I had this kind of funny thought that still feels amazing to me, which is that that's all magic is speaking. And something that's spoken in the right energy creates. Something that's spoken with belief from the heart creates. And that is, I think it's especially comforting to me because that's a very neutral statement. It's a very neutral word, abracadabra. It can be used for great power, both positively and negatively. And I have seen within myself, just referencing the reason for this show's being, right? To treat ourselves well first, and then see how we might support others from a place of well-being inside rather than giving everything to everybody else and then having nothing left for ourselves. I created that too, such that I needed a wheelchair and such that I still have hand challenges that that prevent me from using my hands like other humans for at least half the time. And I created that too, right? I create as I speak. Or I speak as I speak. No, I create as I speak. That's what it was. Sometimes it reverses in my head to as I speak, so I create. But the original phrase, my understanding is that is I create as I speak. And so I didn't envision it. I think what was really fun about feeling like this home was created or spoken into existence for us, which we've been saying since August of 2025. We moved in September 2025, so we've not been here for 6 months yet. And we felt like it had been made for us. Like everything that we could want is in this house. It's a passive energy house. It's a passive solar house. So watching the stars and the moon move across the sky has been revelatory. It's been so amazing. It's at the end of a mile-long dirt road. It's on 25 acres. Like we are so lucky. And I didn't envision it. I didn't say I would like a house. I'm envisioning a post and beam home at the end of a mile-long dirt road on 25 acres in X town. Basically, what we did was we kept pointing at a painting that I had made of a lake that we'd stayed on a couple summers ago. And we would say, that's where we're going. We're going there. And that it's funny how much that is literally of a sunset on a main lake. And our property does not have a lake. It's got some interesting wetlands, which I'm looking forward to exploring in the spring, but it doesn't have a lake. And yet that painting still kind of represents this and got us here. We had a direction that we pointed ourselves in, and we saw what happened. That's how we envisioned it. And right, I create as I speak. I also wrote, so what's this? Now I'm going to kind of shift to what the experience of looking back after this month, looking back to what I wrote on January 2nd has been. I wrote, and this I did write today, alignment, choosing it, simplicity, ownership, envisioning to reality, and then a couple things that I have been envisioning now that I'm astonished already at how they're playing out, things that will not be fulfilled. You know, these visions will not be fulfilled until later in the year. And I'm already speaking them and seeing them arrive, which is just absolutely mind blowing to me. So at the beginning of the show, I was sharing about the experience of, at the beginning of this episode, I was sharing about the experience of like having been called upon to deepen my own self-care practices, and tapping into the parasympathetic nervous system, which does not, as Catherine Nicolai says, respond to urgency. So if I'm feeling panicked, I can't access my parasympathetic nervous system. I must take steps to help my body feel safe in order to tap into that. And the opposite, by the way, if this is a new concept for you, is you have your sympathetic nervous system, which is adrenaline. It is go, go, go. It is now we're under threat. It is like pay attention, right? I'm sure those are very, very familiar feelings for you. They certainly are for me. And the parasympathetic nervous system is the opposite of that. It's feelings of safety. It's feelings of ease. It is rest. It's sometimes people call it rest and digest because that's when our body feels safe to like process food and let let muscles relax and things like that. So the the growth that's happened for me has been all about that. That even in moments, hours, days of high stress, I still have a choice about how I show up for my body, and then that is rewarded because I feel better because there's well-being in that. So again, creating as I speak or that abracadabra kind of comes up, but mostly what comes up right now with this is choosing the alignment because I don't think anyone, if I were to ask you, what are your most deeply held values, they are probably not stress, fear, overwhelm, paralysis, right? They're probably not that. Our most deeply held values are often, I mean, I know mine personally are, they have to do with joy. They have to do with nature, with people, with connection, with exhilaration, with ease, with peace. All these good things that I like and enjoy engaging with. Those are what feels most aligned to me. And some of it is about choosing that because and I think then I wrote simplicity and ownership because we made the choice to, well, I mean, we did make the choice to live here. I don't want to be speaking for Ben when I say the following. I am loving the simplicity of this. And it's funny because the moments that I have felt that most, I wouldn't say that I loved it at the beginning of it. So maybe about 2 weeks ago, it was a Tuesday, and I wanted to go take some art stuff and go get a cup of tea at a cafe. And I realized that because it was a Tuesday in winter, the closest cafe was 45 minutes away to drive. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that. That's not happening. So instead of doing that, I pretended that I lived in a cafe, or that this home had been turned into magically into a cafe. And I brewed some tea. I brought all the tea things to the table. Like I now have a little teapot and just a cute little thing to pour out the milk from, and I brought all that stuff to the table. I put on a playlist of a classical guitarist called Julian Bream, which I'd only really just gotten to know. It's lovely music, very peaceful. And I got my own art supplies at my own table, and I painted some postcards, which was what I would have been doing had I been at the cafe. And I remember saying to myself, I am pretending that this is the Culp Cafe. And that stopped me pretending that and just being, playing the part of someone attending the Culp Cafe, being there, meant that I would stop myself before I started to put things away or empty the dishwasher or what, because the our dining area is adjacent to the kitchen. So sometimes I'd be like, "Oh, I should go wash those dishes." And then I'd be like, "Wait a second, you're in a cafe. You don't wash dishes in a cafe. You soak up the ambiance. You drink tea." Like, I create as I speak. And I would never have done that if I had not had the simplicity that we chose being enforced that day, I guess is maybe a way to say it. Like I I've had it said to me recently that I'm allergic to control, which I think is very true. I do not like the feeling of being controlled, being made to do something that doesn't feel aligned. And yet I do that to myself, or I used to do that to myself all the time, and I'm getting better and better at not doing that, right? So we chose this, which means it wasn't imposed upon us. And part of what that has meant is making soup instead of going out to get takeout or something. We've gotten takeout once since August. And I mean, we used to get takeout 2, 3 times a week. So the simplicity is a really important part of it and the ownership of it. The other thing that happened that day was I did not say, oh, well, I guess I can't go to a cafe, so I'll do something else. I just made a cafe. I was literally remembering when I was a preschool teacher, an early childhood educator in the town school system where I grew up, actually. That was so fun to. I taught preschool for a couple of years in the classroom where I had been a fourth grader. So just these lovely long ties. Anyway, we used to have so much fun making, you know, changing up the dramatic play area for these kids. We made it the moon one time. We made it a puppet theater. We made it a kitchen. We made it, you name it. Gosh, it was such fun. And that's what I did for myself. I made myself a cafe. And that's, there's so much about February that was that energy. And then envisioning to reality. So the other thing that I've been doing is I've been really playing with like what would I like this year to be? What would I like to create? Um, I've been really enjoying the envisioning of it. And a couple things are what I love about envisioning is having a vision and then being absolutely okay with how it turns out rather than trying to manipulate how it turns out. Like I think I said this before about this home, right? It was important to us to not have such a grip on it that it could never possibly happen that way. So that's how I'm envisioning these things now. So for example, I just shared a newsletter in LinkedIn where I've been sharing each month about the experience of creating a paid community. And I started out saying, this is a newsletter about how I grew this to 1,000 members. And I realized early in the year, in the last probably 6 weeks or so, that declaring that this is going to be 1,000 members was not aligned with what this group has become, is becoming. And so I shifted to like creating a group that feels amazing, that is created not just by me, but by the members, and that I'm watching grow and feeling so thrilled at the delighted, I think is a really good word, at what's happening because I let go of the grip of this has to be only this one way, right? And I think about, so that's one thing that feels open and amazing. Dreamers and Doers is such a fun place. We've got things there now that and people there that I could only have envisioned, or hoped for, and now it's reality. So that's awesome. You can come and check it out if you'd like. The link is in the show notes. It's in the school platform, so it's the school.com link. And the other thing that's happened is I've gotten really, really clear on a more open calendar, um, and sitting with that, which is sometimes a little scary. Like if you open up time, then well, how am I going to fill that time? Especially when you live where I live, you know. There's a lot less distractions, which it's so funny because there have been times where that's felt not good, but in the end, it's awesome. It's exactly what I wanted. It's just challenging sometimes to live into that, right? Um, and I now have such a clarity and a deep understanding of who I best serve and how I best serve. So I have there's a very fun little document that I posted to my website. Um, it's called the 3 A's of aliveness. 3 A's to feel alive, I think is what I ended up calling it. And it's such a fun because there's so many ways to feel alive, first of all. But secondly, it's such a fun idea, like having the understanding of I support people to develop awareness, agency, and acceptance. And this little diagram just shows that really clearly. It shows what happens if you are missing one of those. Um, it shows it shows the rhythm that they go. I said it backwards actually from how I've been thinking about it. There's awareness, then there's acceptance, then there's agency, and then there's a deeper awareness, and it sort of goes around in this beautiful flywheel. And I'm now having the opportunity to, for example, teach workshops on this, facilitate workshops on feeling alive. Wow, wow, wow. So that's really neat. I am looking at uh, creating a workshop to offer to you, like a virtual workshop. I'm doing them in person. I'm doing other virtual versions of this with organizations. Oh my goodness. I could not have envisioned that. It's so exciting. I say I could not have envisioned that, but apparently I did envision it because it's happening. And then the other thing, the last thing that I'll share about today is I've had a very strong vision of hosting a retreat on a beautiful lake in a beautiful location in my home state of Maine for a small group of people. And um, on Sunday, I booked the space. I booked the space for this event, and um, I'm so excited. And when I did it, because I wrote in my journal that morning, uh, today I am open to receiving the perfect location for the retreat in September. And then I look back at that at the end of the day and realize that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what I did. Like, wow. And as I did it, as I booked the event, it will start on the 17th of September, by the way. It's a 6-day retreat. Um, I will be sharing more about it in the coming days and weeks. I realized that what it is is a summer camp for grown-ups. Because boy, oh boy, are we burned out and exhausted and in need of something fun like summer camp. And I didn't have that exact vision, but seeing the place and talking with the owner and just feeling excited about it, I was like, of course, that's what it is. Like, summer camp was a very transformative time for me, that, restorative time. And I get to share that with a small group of people who would really love that and welcome that. So I'm that's what February has been. It's been it's been abracadabra in the best way. It's been deepening my own understanding through challenge. I remember just saying this yesterday that I was learning as I was rebuilding my muscles and relearning how to walk back in like 2012, 2013, that I learned then that a muscle doesn't get bigger, doesn't strengthen unless it has resistance. And that's exactly what this has felt like, is my muscles of self-care and alignment have been strengthened and continue to be strengthened, what with all that is happening. And that feels right, because I'm because that's how it just feels right to feel that way. And also, I think that that's how we rise as a society. We support each other in ways that feel good, and we come from alignment. Thank you so much for being with me today. I'm thrilled to have you here. I'm thrilled to be here with you, and very grateful for the connection and the love. I'm wishing you well. I'll be back next week with an episode, and we'll kind of continue on out from there. Hopefully, life is good for you today, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.